Get Ripple, the bright new drink with that ring-a-ding flavor. Ripple.
So we missed a week, the first time ever.
Is it the first time?
The very first time we missed a week.
I don't know if that's true.
The very first time we've ever missed a week.
Okay.
I think.
I don't know.
The main reason was because we had no power for like 3 days.
Right.
We had crazy wind.
Yeah, we had a ton of wind, and Edison cut our power off because I guess it's hazardous because they've had transformers explode and power lines go down and cause all kinds of crazy forest fires. And so instead they just cut our power off when there's any wind. And
then everyone starts up their own generators.
Yeah, but at least they won't be sued. So it's all good.
So
yeah, that was exciting.
We had a good excuse to not record for a week.
I guess so.
Good enough?
Yeah, sure.
Taking a break?
Yep. Hey, a lot of people do seasons and take like several weeks off.
Those are the underachievers. Those are the slackers of life.
We are the slackers of the podcast world, and you know it. Don't even deny it.
It's okay. We're good. Do you have anything to tell me?
You really do. Oh, I started to watch The Night Stalker.
Okay.
And that was pretty good, and then I fell asleep.
How far did you get?
Not that far, but I really, really liked it so far. Like the beginning seemed really, really cool. It seemed like a very cool perspective, a lot of information that I didn't know before. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I binged it, and it's been a while since I've binged something that held my interest and kept me up until way late.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very well done. I love how they didn't like glorify him, how I feel like some documentaries do for like the killers or whatever.
Yeah,
they make him seem like
feels weird.
Yeah, they make him seem like on a pedestal or a celebrity of some kind.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And they are definitely playing him like the villain that he.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, yeah, but it was very interesting. If you haven't watched it yet, you should absolutely, I think, watch it. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I really tried to watch Bridgerton because it has a ton of good reviews.
Uh-huh.
People are raving about it.
Yep.
I could not get through it.
Me
and
either.
I really gave it a solid shot.
Well, I started watching it because you told me to, remember?
No.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you might like this. It has like cool music.
Oh, yeah. That was
like
like the only thing that I thought was kind of good about it.
I'm like, all right, I'll try. It doesn't look like something I'd be into.
It's awful.
I really can't get into it.
I can't. And I'm on the 3rd episode.
Oh, you got farther than I did.
Because I posted a little poll on Instagram on whether or not I should keep watching it. And so many people were like, yes, you have to. It's so good. And I just can't. Nothing's happened. Nothing happens.
But I also feel that's how the Queen's Gambit went.
That's true.
I didn't finish that, and people love that show too.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how many times can we watch you play chess? I'm done. Let's move on.
Right.
So... But I also am the person that will watch Gilmore Girls 14 times.
Yeah, me too.
So there's that. Probably not the best person to take TV reviews from.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking this warm and yummy drink.
Yeah, it's really chilly out for the first time in a long time. And it's been raining, which I love. And I thought I would mix it up and make us a warm cocktail for tonight. So I cooked us up some hot chocolate. And I spiked it with some Fireball and topped it off with some whipped cream. And sprinkles.
And it's really good. And I'm going to finish it so fast because I'm freezing. My hands are so cold.
I almost brought the space heater.
Oh.
I kind of regret it, but it was just like too much of a hassle to get it in my car while it was raining. So.
Yeah, there's a heater.
Oh.
Maybe we'll turn that on. Yeah, it's cold. Want to know how cold it is?
Sure. Like 46 is my guess.
52.
It was 46 earlier.
It's cold.
But yeah, this will warm you up.
So your story is about something warm?
Yes. I didn't plan for that to happen. I actually was going for kind of a Southwest vibe with a spiked hot cocoa, almost like a Mexican hot chocolate because it has some cinnamon in there.
I don't even remember what your story's about or where it is or anything.
I don't either because I went off script.
What?
And I did not write a story about, I think I pulled like Pennsylvania or something. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and listen and I'll write that story for our next
my gosh.
turn.
You're breaking the rules?
I'm totally breaking the rules because we had a listener request because you talked about Sedona last week.
Uh-huh.
And somebody wrote in and said you cannot pass Sedona without talking about this story.
Oh, okay.
So we're going back to Arizona and we're talking about Sedona again.
Okay. All right. Is there a theme? Or
Or
is it just a crazy story?
There's a lot of, I mean, you know how we have our list of the 5 things? I feel like this gets about like 3 of those 5 things.
Check.
Yeah. So this is just a weird,
my gosh,
strange,
okay.
and unusual story.
Let's
and
hear
you
it.
may have heard about it. But first, I want to ask you, Rosa, have you ever gone to a motivational speaker or a life coach or a self-improvement class, anything like that?
I've heard multiple motivational speakers.
Okay, cool. And where did you hear them and what was it like?
Like, okay, so I was in a group and people would come and talk to us. It was like a mom's group.
Okay.
And so they would tell us about like positive parenting and different stuff like that. And then
Sounds like a blast.
And then I also heard some when I was selling jewelry, and I went to a convention and there was a motivational speaker there. And I don't think I ever like signed up to specifically go and hear a certain person or a certain topic. So that's like the closest it would come for me.
Okay. And do you feel like you got anything out of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
For me, my attention span is so limited that, 20 minutes in, I would start doodling and not be paying attention. I know a lot of people that got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Me, it's not really my personality. It's not something that I really benefit from. I think there are other ways for me personally to get that kind of information across. Sitting there and just listening to someone talk on and on and on and on and on doesn't really fly with me.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, remember that because we'll circle back to that.
Okay.
I personally, I think I went to one motivational talk, and again, like it didn't really sit with me. It wasn't something that I was that crazy about. I have read quite a few motivational self-improvement books. We both have.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So I've kind of gone down that route, and I feel like I've kind of gotten something out of it. Have you ever read The Secret?
No, I
You
bought
haven't.
it. I gave it to my mom to read. She read it, and then she told me, "Don't waste my time."
Yeah, I would agree. It was a very, very popular book, and I personally thought it was ridiculous. So you didn't read it at all?
No, I never got it back.
Oh, so you never learned The Secret.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, I'll tell you all about that.
What? Okay.
So, Rosa,
Yes.
do you remember on October 8th, 2009,
Sure.
police responding to a call for help in the desert of Sedona?
No, I do not remember this. Should I know this?
You might.
Okay.
So they would later describe what they saw as utter chaos. Police officer Bullen said, "As I pulled up, I began noticing women with their heads shaved, walking around almost in a daze. I thought, this has got to be some kind of a cult." He quickly realized that these people were not well and were in need of urgent medical attention. "I was thinking it was a mass suicide because I've never had a call with that many people needing assistance," he said. More than 50 people were gathered around a 450 square foot makeshift dome structure draped in tarps.
It sounds like Burning Man or something.
Okay, yeah. I could see how you would get that
Out in the
image.
desert, like a strange structure, people in a daze. Okay.
Okay. So some were vomiting,
Ew.
some were seizing.
Oh.
Others were frantically attempting to revive completely unresponsive friends.
Oh, that's horrible.
One man had burns on his arms so severe that it appeared that his skin was peeling away from his body.
Ah.
After being rushed to the hospital, 18 people were treated for dehydration, breathing problems, kidney failure, and hyperthermia. 2 people, James Shore and Kirby Brown, were dead on arrival, and another, Liz Newman, died after being comatose for a week.
Whoa.
So that doesn't ring any bells?
No, I don't know anything about this.
Okay, so I do remember hearing this on the news and thinking,
2009, that wasn't that long ago.
yeah, relatively speaking, it's fairly recent. I remember this happening, and I remember being like, holy shit, that sounds so weird. Like, what the hell is going on?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
This is not triggering any memories for me.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit more. Maybe you'll remember, maybe you won't.
Okay.
So what was happening there in the desert that would result in such a scene? So there were 50 members of a new aged group led by James Arthur Ray that were on a journey to become spiritual warriors.
So kind of like the story I did where the guy was like on a spiritual quest, and that's kind of the location that a lot of people go to.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that Sedona was like the mecca of like new age spiritual improvement, self
revelation.
Yeah, I guess that's the place to do it.
Huh. Okay.
I had no idea. So this 5-day retreat ended in a group sweat lodge session where participants were encouraged to endure temperatures well above 200 degrees so that they could be reborn at the highest spiritual level.
That's like baking cookies almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's way too hot.
Uh-huh.
Way too hot.
I've heard of sweat lodges, and I know people that have gone to sweat lodges, like for Native American kind of cultural things. And, you know, they smoke peyote, and, you know, there's a lot of traditional things that happen in a sweat lodge.
Yeah, well, there are some cultures that use sweat lodges to kind of clear their mind almost as a sensory deprivation tank, similar to that, where they're just focused on their breathing and being very relaxed and letting their like muscle soreness be relieved.
Well, and even like a hot yoga class where they crank up the heat in those rooms and people are doing exercises.
Yeah.
Getting the toxins out of your body. You know, sweating is good for you to a point.
Right.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so who is James Arthur Ray?
I have no idea.
Sorry, who is James Ray Arthur?
I have still no idea.
Okay, well, let me tell you all about him. So he was born in 1957, and his father was a preacher for the Church of God in Tulsa. Ray claimed to grow up in poverty, stating that he had hand-me-down clothes and home haircuts, and he had this like faith in God really instilled in him.
That's not that uncommon.
No, not at all.
We grew up in hand-me-down clothes
and home haircuts.
Yeah,
I still wear used clothes and cut my own hair.
And yeah, I mean, we went to church as kids. And yeah. Okay. So we're not psychos.
So pretty normal. He didn't understand why God would let his preacher father raise his family in such poverty. So he was like, okay, my dad is dedicating his entire life to preaching God's word. Why would God allow us to live in what he considered poverty?
Okay.
So he was kind of like bent out of shape about that. He was kind of pissed off. He's like, what the hell? So his former classmates said that he really leaned into the whole rags into riches sort of like imagery. Like, you know, like some people kind of like, oh, I've had it so hard. You don't understand how hard I've had it.
Look what I came from.
Right. So I guess he really tried to take on that image. He, after high school, earned his associates, and then he began to work for an AT&T call center. And this is where he discovered the new aged self-help book, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I heard of this.
Yeah, I had heard of this as well. Like I haven't read it personally.
I know. No, I totally know that book.
Oh, have you read it?
Oh, no.
No,
you've
just
not.
Yeah.
Highly effective me? No.
Maybe we should. Maybe our podcast would be so much better if we just learned about these 7 habits. What are they? So, I mean, I guess it's something that's fairly common used in the corporate world to motivate people and get them to be as effective as possible. So he had to read this book, and as he climbed the ladder at AT&T, he had to like kind of practice these methods and teach it to his team to help motivate them.
Okay, sure.
So like, okay, whatever, that's fine. So later on, Ray would claim that he had an alliance with the Covey Center, and he had worked with Stephen Covey himself.
But he hadn't.
But neither of which were true.
Okay.
This would be his first of many examples of his self-aggrandized behaviors. Did I say that word right?
Self-aggrandize?
Yeah. Does that sound like a real word to you?
I mean, I wasn't going to stop you, but I don't know that word.
Okay.
How about like what's the opposite of self-deprecating? Self-motivating?
He had a really big ego.
Sure.
So I guess like just by reading that book and teaching it at the AT&T call center, he's like, no, I totally worked with him. So he launched what he called the Quantum Consulting Group, which later turned into the Ray Transformation Technologies.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like Ray, R-A-Y or R-E-Y?
Like R-A-Y, like his name.
Okay. So he named it after himself.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's like a sun type thing.
Where he teaches you all about sunshine and happiness.
Right. But no, he just wants people to know about himself, it sounds like.
Well, he wanted people to learn his methods.
Mm-hmm.
And then James turned it into James Ray and Associates. But all of these things were one and the same.
Sure.
He just decided that after he read this book that he himself could be a motivational speaker and begin his own practice.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, James Ray was giving motivational talks at conferences for MLM companies.
Okay.
So kind of
that,
like
sure.
your jewelry thing,
Mm-hmm.
it would be something like that where they want to promote sales and just like get people super hyped up about this company and get them to sell a bunch of shit.
Right.
Okay. So around 2006, Ray decided to take a deeper dive into the self-help world and move beyond just kind of business and financial assisting and career help, and then kind of focus more on the spiritual world and help people find enlightenment.
Okay.
I didn't finish that word.
Enlightenment. I got you.
Enlightenment. Okay. So in his writings, he claimed that he searched the world for shamans and spiritual leaders who could help him find his true calling. But it wasn't until he stepped foot into the same cave where the 10 Commandments came to Moses that he had an epiphany.
Where's that?
I was going to ask you, you're supposed to know these things.
No. When you were talking about like shamans and stuff, my brain quickly went to the unicorn leader man, not the 10 Commandments.
Oh, no. He went way beyond that. He is now a world traveler. He has supposedly sought enlightenment through all of these different cultures and religions. And now he is the true leader of spiritualism.
So do you know where the 10 Commandments were? Oh.
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I can't prove it one way or another, but I think he's full of shit.
Well, it kind of sounds like it if he's making up having these relationships with the 7 highly effective person author.
Right. I mean, he didn't start off on the great foot when he made that claim. And it sounds to me, just from this very introductory biography, that he was a scam artist. He found out that he could make money off of people seeking help.
Scamming people.
Right. So these types of accounts were slowly building a name for James Ray in the self-help world. But he was truly launched into fame when Rhonda Byrne, the author of The Secret.
Oh.
Did you recognize that name?
No. I was wondering if I should know that name.
Yeah. So she's the author of The Secret, the book that Oprah screamed about and thought was so amazing. She, or I don't know, the publishers or whatever, after The Secret book had become such a huge hit, they did a video. Did you remember this? They did like a movie about it.
About The Secret?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that came up on my Netflix feed.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was on Netflix.
But I don't think I ever watched it.
Yeah, well, he was on it.
This guy?
He was on it, yeah. And that's when he truly kind of got launched into this whole world of being this amazing motivational speaker that's going to help you change your entire life.
So he hooked up with the author of The Secret.
Right.
And made an appearance on whatever movie show it was, which kind of launched him, like you said, into stardom.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
so
following.
Now he
I'm
has
totally
like
with you.
Serious credibility.
Mm-hmm. He actually has met a real person.
Right, right. And I mean, maybe he did kind of fake it until he made it. And that's what got him to that point. And maybe he did kind of exaggerate how he got there, but it worked. For him. So, okay, good for him so far. So that book later became the film, which I already told you about. And when you look at him on the film, he's like, you know, he's pretty good looking. He works on his appearance a lot. He's really into going to the gym. He's very charismatic. He's super well spoken. And most importantly, he is extremely confident. Like, he has got the whole persona of a motivational self-help speaker guru dude down. Like, he's nailed it.
That's such a turnoff. Like, someone who's so pompous and full of themselves.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
But I think those people can be really manipulative too. I am slurring my words.
I need more whiskey. I keep looking over for where you put the bottle.
It's empty. I poured the last of it into your cup.
That's really sad.
It is really sad. Okay, so you're not a fan of that persona.
I don't like people who just want to toot their own horn and talk about themselves and they're better than everyone else. I don't like that. I don't like those kind of people.
I don't know if he necessarily acted that way. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if he may have, like, engaged you, though, you know, and he was very confidently asking you about yourself.
Okay.
I think it depends.
I just thought of someone that could be kind of like that.
Yeah.
And okay, all right. If I'm thinking of this person and they have that kind of a personality, yeah.
But they say things in such a way where you're like, you don't even question it. You're like, oh, clearly he knows what he's talking about.
I totally know this person.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that they have to find a fine balance between being confident but not being off-putting.
And they probably have to know how to read people.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
If they see someone getting turned off, then they need to switch their tactic.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And
all right.
you will find out more about that. So now Ray was super successful because he was featured on Oprah, and he has this huge name for himself that he began to host his own standalone events instead of being a part of like a lunchtime entertainment for like Herbalife or, you know, one of a corporate
MLM
meeting or something like that. So kind of like Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins is like a super well-known motivational speaker guy who like sells out stadiums. People just really want to hear him talk and have them fix their lives. Okay. So he decided to create this little system, and he must have taken a cue from the MLMs because he developed kind of like a ladder or like a pyramid of enlightenment. So you would start out at one level, and then once you went to so many talks and seminars and like weekend retreats, you would slowly move up this ladder.
Isn't that kind of like Scientology?
Oh, yes. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
I don't really know a whole lot about that, but like you have to do a bunch of things and get like your something read, your ion levels checked. I don't know.
We need to do an episode about Scientology. That might be one of the ones where we need to like tackle it together.
Yeah, that is a intense one. But I feel like, I mean, that's how it is, I believe. Like you have to reach certain levels of enlightenment in Scientology.
I think so. And I think you also have to spend a lot of money.
So much money.
To get there.
Okay.
So he called this the Pyramid of Power.
Oh, he didn't even mess around. It's like a full-on pyramid.
And it started out with a cheap or a free event that would draw people in who were seeking to improve their lives. And while they were there learning about like all of these great, amazing possibilities, they would be asked to participate in the Power to Win weekend.
That
Quantum
sounds
Leap.
fun.
It does. It sounds like a bingo night. But then there's the Quantum Leap, and then the Creative Wealth Series, followed by Legendary Leadership, and finally Spiritual Leadership.
Okay, he's got some good names. That's
think
working
so?
for him. Yeah, Quantum Leap. That was like a TV show in like the 80s or
Wasn't
something.
that about time travel?
Yeah. But I mean, wouldn't that spark your interest? I want to go to a Quantum Leap seminar.
I want to be a time traveler.
Right?
Okay. So that's what he did. And he enticed people to come in, and each level, obviously, it came with a price. And the price increased each level. So at the bottom, it appeared that because I watched little bits and pieces of these things, but on the very first level, it almost reminded me of like a military boot camp or something, where he like breaks people down, and he tells people to focus on like, what is your biggest insecurity? What is holding you back?
Okay.
What is like the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and why has it ruined your life? And he gets people to like really dwell on these like horrible, awful things. And I think it makes them extremely vulnerable. And then he like claims to be able to save them from this thing.
How to fix that
Exactly.
huge problem in their life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a lot of how like therapies or even, like Noom, you're supposed to fill out this. We're not sponsored, by the way. This
Offer code Ripple.
this, questionnaire about what health changes do you want to make and what is your biggest challenge and how can you fix that challenge. So I feel like that's a very common tactic that
It is.
Because everyone wants to be fixed. Everyone wants to be happy all the time. And what is holding you back from that happiness? It's X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the idea of like a silver bullet, like, oh, if I just do this one thing, all of my problems will go away.
Totally.
And that's kind of, it seems like what he sold them on. But I think he really, really drilled into these people to like get super in tuned with this awful, awful aspect of their life. And I don't know if those people were necessarily ready to go there, because if you had something terrible happen to you, like, I don't know, a death in the family or rape or something like that, you would think that you would want a professional.
Oh, not some rando.
Like,
yeah,
an actual therapist, doctor to help you through that, because this guy doesn't have any sort of medical backing.
And he doesn't care, probably.
Well, I don't know. That's up for debate. I kind of don't think so. But he would just like get people, like one woman he asked, she was like super afraid of public speaking, like most of us are. And he was like, well, okay, sing. And he like puts her on the spot. And he's like, what song are you going to sing for me?
In front of an audience?
In front of this entire audience, right?
Oh, that's not nice.
So then it's like, okay, you have the fear of speaking in front of this entire audience, or you have the fear of disappointing this person who is so confident and so like has this persona of power and influence.
And you paid to be there.
That's another big aspect. You're not going to waste your money, so you better do what he tells you to do.
Does he shame them, like publicly shame them too?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he did on that platform, but we'll get a little bit more into that on some of his other seminars that we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, so she sings, and obviously the entire crowd is cheering her on because they're all part of this whole.
Do it. Yeah.
And so she appears to have this huge breakthrough, and that's what really entices people and gets them to continue.
Did he know these people's fears ahead of time? Like, did he single her out? Like, seat number 14C. I'm
not sure, but I think he probably addressed people in the audience and just kind of put them on the spot too. And if it was something I feel like if you're in that field, you probably know like the top 10 fears that people have.
Okay.
And chances are one of them is going to be like, oh, I'm afraid of public speaking. Okay. I'm afraid of, addressing a office meeting or something like that.
So those all kind of fit into that same category.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as these conferences progressed, he started putting on retreats. So they were like overnight trips where they would get into more extreme demonstrations and, of course, a higher price tag. So he had people do stuff. And this is like kind of going back to where you're like, I can't just watch somebody stand up there and talk. That's super boring. So he had people overcome their fears by doing things like walking over broken glass, putting their hands into a terrarium full of snakes, break blocks with their hands.
Oh, wow. This is like an entertainment show now.
It's like Fear Factor.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things were supposed to symbolize like overcoming their obstacles and building strength and finding the strength within them. And really, it was like a lot of smoke and mirrors, because it's like, yeah, that's great. You can stick your hand into a terrarium, but like, really, is that going to help you get out of debt?
Right.
You know? So at this point, it seems like it's kind of like, I don't know, a little bit scammy. But some people might actually legitimately get help from that. You know, they might have a tiny boost of confidence. Maybe it actually worked for some people.
Did it say how much these seminars cost?
I don't have the price tag for that one, but a little later on, I do have
one
price.
The bigger, higher ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at this point, it seems a little scammy, seems a little shady, but then some undeniable fucked up shit starts to happen. So during one of the board breaking exercises at an event hosted at Disney World in New Jersey, a woman shattered her hand after multiple attempts to break the board. Like a little hi-ya, like karate chop.
Whoa.
So I guess it sounds like she did it and she couldn't break it. And he's like, do it, you can do it. I believe in you, or whatever. And she kept doing it.
Oh my gosh.
Until she fucking shattered all of the bones in her hand.
Don't they normally like have pre-cuts in those pieces of wood?
I thought so. Or I thought that they were like, I don't know, like balsa wood, you know, that stuff that you made those like little airplanes out of. I totally thought it was something like that, but I don't know, maybe not. So she broke her hand, which didn't make Ray look very good. So he actually consulted with a guy named Grant Cardone, who I guess was his like business advisor or attorney or something. And he's like, okay, shit, this doesn't like make me look good. What am I going to do? And the guy's like, hey, you need to stop with all of these like tricks and shit and just focus on what you're good at. Give people business advice and help them like, you know, get a promotion, but stay away from all of this healing, like things that are kind of outside of your realm. You don't need people doing shit like that, and you're going to get a lawsuit, basically. Okay. So he had that advice. But Ray, seeing how much money this made him, decided to not take that advice. And instead, he had people walk through fire.
Okay.
Right. So he decided to go in the opposite direction, and he increased more of this hands-on symbolism stuff, and he had people doing other weird, crazy practices that might make them feel like they did something, but in reality, it's just like out of the norm, so you kind of get a high from it. So he started having people practice sleep deprivation on some of these away camps.
No.
He had them start fasting. He had them do other things like bending rebar. So he would have like two people stand together holding a piece of rebar and like push it towards each other until it bent. And it was supposed to like symbolize, oh, look at all these things you can overcome. I bet you didn't know you could stay up for 24 hours, but look at you, you did it. I bet you know, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like those don't really relate.
It doesn't. It totally doesn't.
And bending rebar?
Oh, it gets worse. So it turned more into Fear Factor, except instead of like winning money, you just paid him a bunch of money.
You paid him money to do the tricks.
Right. So one instance, for some reason, he had a bunch of people take archery lessons, which is like, to me, like, okay, that's cool. You know,
sure,
I could
would
see
do that.
how you could get some sort of benefit at that. But he had them take the arrows and place them up against a wall, and then had them take the tip of the arrow and place it on their neck.
No, that's not how archery works.
No, it's not.
That's not how you do it.
Doesn't that sound like fun? Okay. And I don't know what this is supposed to symbolize. I guess like, oh, you have complete control of your life or whatever. But this one man named Kurt, following Ray's directions, leaned into the arrow.
No, he didn't.
And the arrow, luckily, snapped. But when it snapped, it slid upward and scratched up his face.
Oh, okay.
Past his eye. Thank God it didn't go through his eye. And pierced his eyebrow.
Jeez.
So after the previous experience with the shattered hand, Ray didn't want another accident to tarnish his reputation. So he informed his staff to keep it quiet. And some of them were even informed to never call 911 under any circumstance.
Oh.
So I don't know if he paid this guy off or what he did, but it was like another oopsie. And
well, I feel like sometimes, like, if this guy's got such huge celebrity status and he's so looked up to, he can do no wrong, but from his followers. So they're like, oh shit, yeah, this arrow broke. There's a total accident, but Ray would have never have wanted this to happen to me. So he's gonna give me, an autographed book and $1,000 and all as well.
yeah, I think you are spot on. The more I read about this guy, like, there's so many people who are like, oh no, you're exactly right. Like, he could do no wrong. He was like a saint in their eyes. So you could be very, very right, where maybe the guy did get like a little bit of money and like, or a one-on-one consult and like.
Well, and even, this is going kind of down a pretty dark path, but there's been coaches that do things that they're not supposed to do to their athletes, but because they're, winning tournaments or whatever, no one says anything. Or there are TV hosts that do bad things to other, staff members or whatever, but no one ever says anything because it's this, TV celebrity.
Yeah. And I think they too form this kind of relationship where it's almost like a parental relationship where like, oh, I know he really loves me, so it's okay.
Yeah.
That, or
you
almost
look up
like
to him.
a domestic violent relationship where it's like he
did this bad thing
but he didn't mean it,
Right.
So it gets worse. Okay. So then there's the story of Colleen Conaway. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
I hadn't heard of her either until I read this story.
I'm feeling like really out of the loop on these people.
Yeah. Well, so you hadn't heard of the sauna situation at all?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird and I just happened to catch that story and I thought it was just so like crazy.
Well,
I don't know. It stuck with me. But Colleen Conaway is one that I didn't know anything about. And this was again in 2009. And Colleen was a woman from Minnesota and she was super excited about Ray's seminars. And she had an opportunity to go to San Diego to be a part of one of the kind of like overnight, I think it was like a 5-day seminar.
Okay. Wow.
And she spoke with her sister the day before the event started. And she was laughing about like some family stuff. And she was saying, I'll tell you all about it when I get back. And she was just really excited to go there and also excited to just go to California and see the Pacific Ocean for the first time.
Sure. It's a vacation.
Just like high on life. So Colleen previously attended a free seminar and was now financially invested. So it's kind of like the thing where like, oh, you could just reach this next breakthrough if only you sign up for this next weekend thing. So she kept climbing the ladder or pyramid or whatever you want to call it. And she was just like really on this positivity kick. And she started preaching about all of these testimonials and like how great it was. And their life is just so positive now that they've met Ray. And she didn't know exactly how these retreats worked. It was kind of vague, I guess, the description. Like you're going to go and you're going to, conquer all these obstacles. But she didn't know what they entailed.
And she's on level 3?
I don't remember. So she was on the financial one. So I think, 2 or 3.
Okay.
I think 3.
So she'd at least gone to 1 or 2 before.
Right. Yeah. So the more people spent, the more emotionally dependent they came on the idea that it worked, which is like so true. I know I've done that where like, oh, all I spent, if I only spent $5 on this gym membership, I don't care as much as if I spent $100.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a common thing or if just you and I think that. So during this event, participants physically and mentally were just dismantled. And they had all of these demands from them, and it just got deeper and deeper into these emotional issues. And they started exploring issues into their childhood, any forms of abuse that they experienced. And they were all encouraged that they needed to like break themselves down and be super raw and share within the entire group.
About some childhood trauma?
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole thing, like we're going to break you down and build you up.
Okay.
So neither Ray nor any of the staff were any way qualified to deal with people at this level, but they were just going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So then they brought on the sleep deprivation. And then they used that along with these dangerous exercises that could potentially cause injuries and broken bones. So they're doing like all of the crazy like
Fire and wood.
yeah,
and...
all of that stuff.
Are there drugs involved?
I don't think so, probably because that would have cost them more money and it's much easier to keep people awake and not feed them. No, I don't think that they ever went down that route. I'm not sure. I mean, they may have, but they started like, you know, taking away food and taking away bathroom breaks and restricting
I'm
people
out.
more and more. And then if anybody kind of like fought back, I guess their like strategy was just to humiliate them and tell them like, oh, you're not really a part of the group. You're not like, they very, very much encouraged them to play like full on into this character. Like you can't just be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't just like
you're
test
all
the
or
waters.
nothing.
Like, you're all or nothing. You're either one of us or you're out.
Oh, wow.
So he deliberately pushed people to these extreme psychological states in order that for them to experience a quote unquote breakthrough. And Colleen's story was recounted on a website called Salty Droid, and her sister kind of tells us how all of this went down. So she says Colleen had changed months after getting involved with Ray. She added 2 other Ray events to her schedule on short notice. She took unexpected road trips. She spent money that she didn't have. One event was in St. Cloud, Minnesota, the other in Chicago. At the Chicago event, Colleen participated in a damaging, board-breaking exercise. She came back injured, and she came back changed. Suddenly, she seemed more serious. She eliminated all negativity from her life. She was filtering out news of events that weren't conforming with her new harmonic views. So what do you think of that?
She's not living in the real world. I mean, if I'm going to cut out everything negative in my life, there would be nothing, because everything causes some negativity, whether it's physical, mental, whatever. There's bad things that happen, but then there's good things, hopefully, that happen more often.
Yeah.
But I mean, my gas tank is low right now. That sucks.
Right. It's like it's not really a strategy of overcoming. It's more of a strategy of avoidance, it seems like.
Not reality. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, it seems like almost like a form of brainwashing.
Well, and trying to get someone to believe that that is possible.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not.
Yeah, so she goes on to say that people who didn't play full on in Ray's events were singled out for humiliation.
That's the word I can't say.
Humiliation.
That's
before the group. People who Ray, for some reason, didn't like were also humiliated for their own good. And I think those are probably people who are more likely to stand up to him.
Wait, humiliated for their own good? What does that mean?
I don't really know. It's a quote directly for her, but I wonder if he like singled out people and he's like, oh, you need extra work, and kind of like tried to break them down even more. And I'm not sure if he did that to Colleen. There's no way of really knowing, because after this happened, people didn't really talk about what happened.
Okay, what happened?
Oh, I'll tell you. So a part of this exercise was putting all of the participants in kind of like homeless looking clothing, and he wanted them to experience what homelessness was like in San Diego. And I don't know if that was supposed to teach them of what are you laughing?
I mean, if I'm gonna be homeless, I'm totally gonna do it in San Diego.
And if you're gonna be homeless, you're totally gonna pay a guy thousands of dollars to be homeless, right? So yeah, he took away their wallets, their money, their cell phones, anything on them, put them in just kind of raggedy, dirty clothes, and is like, okay, you're going to go out and experience what it's like to be homeless in San Diego. And maybe that would like teach them to value things more. I don't know. It was a weird exercise.
How long are they doing this exercise?
A few hours, maybe a day.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and Colleen thought the same thing because she was like, I don't really want to do this. And she refused to put on the homeless clothing. And she just decided, I'm going to go in my own clothes instead. And this would not have gone unnoticed by Ray or the staff. So more than likely, they probably gave her shit from that.
Okay, she's like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't fit in with my way of thinking or whatever.
Who knows?
I'm out. And he's like,
Yeah. We don't know for sure, but he did take her wallet, her keys, her phone, everything.
Oh, okay.
So she still was like pretty
Out of touch.
disconnected. But he had everybody on a bus and they traveled to the downtown Horton Plaza shopping mall at around 1 p.m. And he had the participants get out of the bus and just disperse.
Okay, and go. Be homeless.
Right. And then he went and had himself like a nice little relaxing lunch.
Sure.
Okay, so what happens next, I'm going to give you in the form of a timeline because it gets kind of confusing.
Okay.
So at 1:43 p.m., Colleen climbed over the rail of the mall 3 levels up and fell.
Oh, okay.
A little caught off guard there.
Uh-huh.
At 1:54, staff member Greg Hartle tweeted, I just witnessed a woman jump several stories down onto pure concrete.
Oh.
I gotta say, it was disturbing. I'm sending her love right now.
All right, so 20 minutes after she fell.
He went on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
So security staff arrived soon after, and police did as well. They started talking to witnesses, but James Ray's staff said nothing.
Okay. So the guy that tweeted, he's on the staff as well?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Ray continued eating his lunch.
He really was having like a nice lunch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Greg Hartle, the guy who just tweeted, apparently joined him.
Oh.
At 2:04 p.m., Ray tweeted, eating lunch with my dream team. While CAW, which stands for Creating Absolute Wealth, participants are having a life-changing experience. Okay, so at this point, Ray's constantly just on Twitter daily, and then he falls silent. And this is the longest silent hiatus he had taken since he first got on Twitter.
How long is that?
Several days.
Oh, not okay.
So then between 2 and 4 p.m., Colleen's body was taken from the mall and admitted into the mortuary as a Jane Doe.
Oh, no, because she had no phone or ID or wallet or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Hospital staff were surprised that a woman so well dressed like Colleen had absolutely no ID on her.
Because she wasn't in the uniform of the homeless whatever.
Right. At 4 p.m., buses arrived to take participants back to the seminar room. A buddy system had been in place, and participants were under strict instructions not to get on the bus without their buddy. However, Colleen's buddy was told not to wait for her and just get on. The participants collected their name tags, and nothing was said about the extra tag with Colleen's name on it.
That's creepy.
Colleen's bus, with James Ray on it, left without her.
Were people talking? I guess I don't really know, but had she made friends at all? Were people obviously her buddy was like, okay, well, where did she go?
They didn't know. I don't know if they maybe they said she went home. This is just a guess because she wasn't full on participating. She didn't want to wear the homeless clothes. Maybe they said she went home, or maybe they just didn't
hack it, and she wasn't part of the team, and she wanted out, and she's not part of our family or whatever.
Yeah, it's who knows for certain, but at this time, the staff knows that she's dead, and the participants don't.
Okay.
So back at the seminar room, a participant approached James Ray and said that he had witnessed a suicide. Ray listened, but didn't let on that he knew that the victim had been another participant.
So one of the people actually saw her fall, but because she wasn't dressed like the rest of them, thought it was just some woman jumping?
I guess so. He just kind of makes this kind of weird, like, oh, you were meant to witness this.
Oh, sick. Okay.
And turned it into like a part of his program. But again, he didn't let on that was Colleen. So at about 6:30 p.m., a staff member who didn't yet know of Colleen's death walked into the staff meeting. Everyone seemed immediately agitated, and they screamed at her to get out.
Whoa, okay.
This staff member later realized that a participant was missing and asked Ray about it. Ray got like all pissed and told her she needed to stop asking. He sternly instructed her that if anyone asked about the missing person, that she was supposed to tell them the following: we know where she is, she's fine, and she decided not to return to the group. So that's kind of what you were saying. Like, she just went AWOL. This instruction was repeated the next day to more office workers at James Ray International. So another staff member still had Colleen's personal belongings, which included her driver's license, a journal that she kept during the event, and her cell phone. Well, somewhere along the way, the journal disappeared. But
who had all this stuff?
This was another staff member that took it away for the homeless experiment.
Okay.
So the family actually got Colleen's cell phone back, but there are some messages on it. So at 8:15, one of the staff members had actually called Colleen's cell phone, and this was the same person who knew that she was in fact dead. And this person left concerned messages for Colleen.
Oh, no.
Okay, so the phone was eventually returned to the family, but they found that there was messages on it. And this was one of the messages that was found on her voicemail.
Hi, Colleen. This is Michelle from James Ray International. It is about 8:15 p.m. on Saturday night, and we've been looking for you. So if you could please call my cell phone. The number is 760-707-7765. We're hoping that you are okay, and would love to hear from you. So again, my cell phone is 760-707-7765. Thanks. Bye.
And this is another message 2 hours later.
Hi, Colleen. This is Tina from James Ray International. Can you please give us a call immediately? The phone number to reach me on my cell phone number is 760-822-0548. Again, that phone number to call me immediately is 760-822-0548. Thank you.
So what do you think of that?
That's just horrible. Like, it's so obvious that they knew and were being told to call and to make it look like they were concerned and looking for her.
Like, she legit knew that this woman was dead. They left her behind. They drove away. They didn't go to help her or see if she was alive or anything. They didn't go to the hospital.
Buddy to just get on the bus.
They pretended it didn't happen, and they drove away.
It sounds like a lot of people that murdered their spouses and just, say, oh, I was looking for my wife, and, I sent her these text messages, and the last I saw her, she was on her way to work, and when reality, husband put her in a barrel somewhere.
Yeah, that's totally like the American Murder Story.
Mm-hmm.
He kept calling and texting, knowing that she was dead and buried in a shallow grave in the desert.
Right.
Yeah, it's really creepy. It's really suspicious. So yeah, they had a staff member witness her jump or fall or who knows what. I mean, we don't even know if maybe she was pushed. That's like one speculation that has gone around the internet, that maybe she was being very argumentative with staff and they had enough of her, and whether it was on purpose or accidental, was like, screw you, we're done. But I don't know. That's all alleged.
Well, and also maybe
sure.
if she was being, bullied to the point of, breaking, like if they were just harassing her so much that she just felt like she couldn't go on.
Yeah. I mean, it was really awful That's definitely something that's considered. People speculate that she had all kinds of self-esteem issues and they were just making it worse and worse. Because like we said before, he rips open these emotional wounds with no authority or training or anything to deal with them. But then just kind of like, okay, you're on your own.
Give me more money and I'll fix you.
And speaking of the money, at this point, Colleen had paid Ray about $15,000 for future seminars.
Oh, these weren't even like the ones that she'd attended?
Right. These were more. So like while they were there, they conned her into spending more money.
Oh, no.
The worst part is, according to the family, James Ray told them it was non-refundable.
What an asshole.
What an asshole. So once the police identify her body, they chalk it up to suicide, and they don't really pursue anything after that.
So did they think that she committed suicide? Did they press any charges against Ray's organization?
I think they really tried to.
But there was nothing to...
Right. So this is a little bit out of order, but just to let you know what was going on while these staff members were in the meeting making these phone calls. The other participants who had been bussed back without Colleen were having an end of a seminar celebration. There was this great big dinner party. They were dancing and drinking and having a great time. And then they were joined by some of the staff members who had just made calls to Colleen, knowing that she was dead, tweeted about her dying, abandoned her there. And then they just went and decided to party with them. Like nothing had happened.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't put on a fake face like that.
Well, maybe when you're brainwashed by this guy.
And made fake phone calls.
Right. So James Ray left dinner early and decided to call his lawyer.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, it's like the one good idea he has. So sometime around midnight, Colleen's parents were informed by police that Colleen had committed suicide while attending the self-help seminar. No one from James Ray International ever contacted Colleen's family. A few days later, after the family had been notified of Colleen's death, Colleen's sister went to her house to help start cleaning things out.
Okay.
When she opened the door, she found the entire home filled with 3x5 note cards, which were inscribed with James Ray's sayings and quotes. They were all over the house, hundreds of them, along with spiral notebooks full of similar gibberish. Colleen had been directed to keep all of the lists of her old limiting views and her new harmonic values.
That must have been so, eerie, walking into your sister's house who had, just recently passed and seeing all these messages all over the place. That's very creepy sounding.
It is. It is super, super creepy. And it makes you wonder, at what point is it brainwashing?
Oh, it was absolutely brainwashing.
Yeah. So obviously this is like a super long story, and this is only part one. Because there's so much more that happens.
I want to hear about the desert dome thing.
And that's what we're going to get to next week when I tell you more about it.
A two-parter.
This is our very first two-parter.
And I didn't even know this was the topic.
Right. Surprises all around.
I don't know if I'm okay with this. I might have to go to a seminar. Is that very poor joke?
Imagine if we were good enough at podcasting to get people to even listen.
Let alone
give us money for it.
Right? Want me to send my Venmo out?
Oh man. But I would totally host a camping retreat. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we don't have to go into a sweat lodge.
We don't have to go into a sweat lodge. And you don't have to dress like a homeless person.
Okay. Wow. Okay, well, so next week we'll finish this up.
Yeah, so next week we'll talk about what happened after Colleen's death, where they went moving forward, how they pressed charges, if they could press charges, what happened to James Ray, and how did it lead to a bunch of people getting super sick and fucked up in a sweat lodge in the middle of the Sedona desert.
I'm in. I want to know.
All right.
All right. Well, until next week, don't forget to be a fountain.
And not a drain.
That sounds really weird ending it that way.
Doesn't it?
On this note.
It'll always be a fountain. Don't go in a sweat lodge.
Yeah, don't be.